What is up, YouTube? So I want to start this video off by saying thank you to those who watched the first video, commented on, liked on it, subscribed, etc. Got like 62K views from the point of me filming this. That's about 61,999 more than I thought would watch the video. But I'm glad it helped out a ton of you. So I will say too, for people who are watching this probably who didn't watch the first one, if you're looking at how it's set up, how it works, what it costs, etc. You can just watch the first video. I'll leave it in the description below, and then you can go from there. I'm going to try and film this in one shot, so if there's any stuttering, if there's any of that, I'm just going to let it be, because I told myself I'd put this review out since it got to like 10K views, and it hasn't happened because I never pulled the trigger. So just one shot, bang, in and out, and then we'll go from there. All right, I was going to film this while I had it on a tripod and answer the questions, but I'm going to refer to my notes here. The notes literally just have what I wanted to talk about and the questions. There's a few common questions which I'm going to answer, so let's get started. I'm just going to do it on the tripod, but I need to walk around for a couple of these questions to show you some things. So I'm going to do my best to not walk around and kind of get you guys all, what's the word? I don't know, dizzy, motion sickness, whatever. Anyways, so this is I'm gonna keep looking down my notes, so bear with me. So this is a 24 by 22 two-car garage, about say 10 or 11 foot ceilings, not very well insulated at all. So keep that in mind. So going over the heating options that people say you can try out, and that I also mentioned in the first video. So there's going to be your like electrical style and multiple styles. There's gonna be electrical oil-filled heaters, which look like little radiators, like old school radiators, and those are fine, but there's no air movement that's going on, so it'll be tough to heat up a big room quick enough. Those do well efficiently, but they're not quick at all. So that's something you want to be mindful of. So there's that one, and there's like your regular old like heaters that you normally see like in the corners of like gyms and stuff, like more industrial side. There are two ways you can do those. Some of those are electric and they run like off of a higher voltage, so it's a little bit more work. You have to get an electrician to come in. The heater itself is maybe like $300, not too bad. But where I live, electrical costs are insane, so I didn't go for that route. Then there's that same style where it's like up in that little corner, but it's not going to be electric. It's going to be some sort of fuel, whether it's oil where you live or if it's gas where you live, etc. That's probably the best option, but it's also the most costly option. So take it for what it's worth. I went this route with that heater because it seemed like it was this is probably the best lighting. Golly, I probably should have started here. So this is probably gonna be the best one for you. Best one for me, I'm gonna rephrase that because this is my situation, my variables. So if you got the money, you can flex with a heater that's up there that's connected to your actual lines, go for it. If I had the money to flex like that, I would too. And to stay warm like that. Anywho, so this heater right here is DynaGlo, like 30,000 BTU, liquid propane, or I believe it's gas. So you can do either one. I'm doing the propane. So it was at 202 last time I bought it. Now it is at 279 at Lowe's. There are other similar models that are gonna be a little smaller or a little bit less on the BTU side. So just be mindful of that. So the first thing I'm gonna go over is kind of the location of the unit. So when it comes to that location, I put it there for a reason. I didn't put it there because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't put it there for any other reason. I put it there because the way my gym is set up, I wanted to take up as minimal space at the bottom as possible. Now, the first person to say, hey, logically, you want to make sure you put that heater on the ground because hot air rises, which would make 100% sense. Now, if you notice that if you're here from this first video, you notice that the fan is no longer the small one. It's now this bigger, heavier duty one, all metal one that I purchased. That now pushes the air around. So even if it was at the bottom, it wouldn't make a difference. So now I'm just saving myself space. So there's that. Now, let's see the next thing. How far can you put things on, like around the actual contraption? So in front of it, I believe it's 3 feet that I think it said. Above it is 4 feet. To the side, I believe it was 18 inches. And to the bottom, you could put it on the floor if you wanted to, which is where most people would opt to put it. Now, my shoulder is killing me holding this phone up. Now, in front of it and all that stuff, there's nothing really around it. that'll mess it up. The heater's the fan's all metal, so it's not gonna melt. Even when I had the all plastic fan that was directly above it, it didn't melt or even get hot in any capacity. So the next thing that people are gonna say is, hey, was this past code? Every code is different and it goes by municipality. So check with yours if you really want to. I haven't met anyone who did. I'm not endorsing that in any capacity. I'm just saying I didn't because I'm not putting myself in any danger by the way I did it. It's simple, it's meant to be indoors. Behind that heater itself, it doesn't get hot. You can touch any white part of that heater and it's cold to the touch. Nothing bothers in any capacity. Behind it, there's no vent, it's a ventless heater. So there's nothing that needs to go on the other side. It's just 2 screws that mounted up to the wall. So you can touch it as long as you're not touching the black part, because obviously that's where the flames are at. You'll be all right. I'm answering that because there was people who asked that, so I'm gonna make sure I answer that. Anywho, next thing. I'm gonna try and put this on the tripod. My arm is dying. Hold on. So this is gonna be so much better. I probably should have done this from the beginning. So anyway, so when it comes to the fan, so I switched it over, like I said, to the heavier duty one. It works perfectly well. The entire gym gets the hot air it needs. So I would get one like that one to make sure you get it to properly distribute the air and to circulate the air as well, because you want that when you have any kind of gas going on inside of the enclosed space. In this case, it's my garage. Now the next thing too is going to be inside that. There was a fan like right there inside those black bars. You can buy an after. I don't know what the correct word would be. You can buy a fan that's meant for that actual heating, the wall heaters. It sucks. It was like $30. It does nothing. But I turn it on anyways when I go, and it's off the sensor on there, so it'll turn on when it needs to turn on, turns off when it needs to turn off. But it's not worth it. Just get the one that's right up there. Now let's see. So for the safety. So there's a carbon monoxide detector right there. And then there's one behind my leg press on the floor. And there's one over here next to my TV. There's 3. You really don't need 3. I do 3 because I'm a little bit overdoing it, but it is what it is. So it does produce, obviously, things that are not necessarily the healthiest for you. And that'll detect it if there's too much in the room. What I will say, if there's a leak, you will smell it. It smells like eggs. It smells disgusting. You will know if there's a leak. But that's there just in case for the part that you can't smell, et cetera, et cetera. So just get one. Just keep it around 3 to 5 feet away from the actual thing. You can put it up at the top. I have it above it. I have lateral to it, and I also have on the bottom, just because I'm overdoing it, like I said before. Let's see. So you're supposed to technically vent things like that, like I said before, because it's gassing inside. However, there's so many holes within like this, or gaps within my garage that it escapes more than enough. So I don't really have a spot where I'll open a window or something. If your space is really enclosed and really well insulated, then yeah, probably open up something just enough so things can get out. It might seem counterintuitive, but I think your health in your life is a little bit more important than a little bit of an inconvenience of that sort. So let's see. Oh, and also, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a fire extinguisher. So you'll be able to do that there if you need it. I would have one in my town. You're supposed to have one in the garage, the kitchen, and the basement near the heater and stuff like that. Anyways, there's multiple times. I have one there just because I was already supposed to have one. So, c'est la vie. Let's see. Oh, it's soapy water. So let's see. Can you see it? That little green bottle right there? It's soapy water. So you spray it along the actual connector, and if it's bubbling, then that means, boom, you got a leak. You unscrew it. You align the actual threadings a little bit better. You screw it back in a little tighter this time, and you should check it again. And more often than not, that fixes it. Now, I would also say this, sometimes if you're really, really, if you had it for quite some time and that hose gets exposed to sun and stuff like that, you might want to check for cracks. Sometimes you might just want to spray it. Mine's not exposed to any sun because I keep all my blinds closed even in the summer. Anyways, so then there's also a rag that you'll keep there. That's a little blue one right there. I just keep it so when I spray the soapy water, I can just wipe it off and not leave it there. And then there's also a little wrench that I use to disconnect and connect the propane tanks. Cool. So moisture. That is going to produce a lot of moisture. And by a lot, I mean enough that you'll notice it like after an hour or two of of it being on. You'll go to touch your weights or something metal most of the time. You'll go and touch it and it's a little bit moist. So a good way to kind of combat that is to have a dehumidifier. I personally don't have one because I don't care for one. It hasn't gotten that bad. All my equipment is painted how it needs to be painted, so there's no rust anywhere of any significance. So there's that. If the moisture does bother you or messes up with the kind of work you do inside your garage, get a dehumidifier. You can find one for like 50 bucks for the size of a space like this. You don't need a big one. So let's see. So I answered how close can objects be already. So I believe it was like 4 feet up and then 18 inches either direction, left or right. It could be on the floor and there's nothing behind it because it's the wall. You can put it on the wall, it's meant for the wall. And then in front of it, I think it was like 3 or 4 feet. CO2 detector, so I went over that already. A fan with it, does it come with a fan? No, it doesn't. And you can buy the one that's meant for it, but it sucks. Just buy an aftermarket one, you'll be fine. And way better off. So the next question is, what other methods of insulation? So I don't know if I should answer that right now because I want to walk around and show you guys. So I'll skip that one. So venting, this is a ventless grill. I mean, technically. It's a ventless wall heater. So no, you don't need there's nothing behind that. Behind that's actually my living room, one of my living rooms. And then when it comes to the actual venting and circulation of air, should you have a little crack? Yes, but my garage has so many gaps and holes in the walls and garage doors that I have more than I need. Electric propane, so I went over that before. In the beginning, is there an air noise that comes from the actual unit? So yeah, it's gonna produce a noise. I don't know if it's air, but it's gonna produce a noise that sounds like something is pushing something out. My guess is the fact that it's the propane coming through and getting lit up, and that's the sound that it makes. That's the Honda kids, if you heard it. But anyways, so yeah, that noise is completely fine. Let's go to the next one, smell. So the smell, like I said before, if it's propane, it's going to be smelling like absolute rotten eggs. But there's gonna be a time when you first buy this that the glue with inside the actual platforms, the plastics, all that stuff, the paint still hasn't set in yet. So it's gonna smell like glue for the first few, I would say 6 to 12 hours. It's gonna smell until it settles. And once it settles, it goes away. Now there's always gonna be a certain smell, and it's not disgusting. It's just a smell that makes it apparent. It's gonna be all the other additives that they add into the propane. Each company is different, so it might vary slightly, but if it doesn't smell gross, if you're not that's rotten eggs, you're good. It's just either that settling in or the propane mixture, and it's not noticeable unless you've never been around it, and then you're like, oh, that does kind of make itself present. But otherwise, it makes no difference. It won't be annoying to you in any capacity, so don't worry about that. So I guess I'm going to show you the insulation stuff that I've done and then tell you what should be done maybe a little bit better than what I did. So let's do that first. All right, so this is what I did for the insulation. The insulation, I ended up going with this Reflectix styrofoam pad. R value is 3.9, essentially means this is close to useless, but it does help with the ability to keep the cold air in during summer and the hot air in during winter. This gets really, really cold to the touch during winter, so this does, in my opinion, help. Now, if we look at the actual frame of the garage door, there's a lot of foam in there, expanding foam. I bought those cans. In order to go around these two garage doors, I think I used 3 cans because the gaps were massive. And I did as best as I could because there's also going to be on this side where the garage door actually kind of goes up and down. It's not going to be closed, and I can't put foam there because it just doesn't make sense. So there's that. On this end over here, another thing I did was adding these heavier duty insulating curtains, I guess they're called. So these are, I think they were rather expensive because they're thicker and they're meant to insulate. What you can do too is on top of right here, you can put a nice little old t-shirt or something if you're not really too like worried about aesthetics, you can put a little t-shirt there so the air doesn't slide off into there and come in and out of it. When it comes to the floor, you want to make sure it's covered as much as you can. I personally didn't cover all of it because it wasn't my first intention to. Let me fix this chart so I can hold it with one hand. All right. So the floor itself, a lot of heat gets lost through the floor and all of the cold comes through that floor. So you want to make sure you cover as much as possible. These are going to be the better, heavier duty ones that are meant for gyms. I didn't have the money to purchase them. This guy just threw it in when I was buying some stuff. So that's why it's not full enough. Those over there were great and I had most of this covered, but I found myself walking in and out with heavy equipment when I in the summer, like the lawnmower and stuff, and it would kind of fumble off. So there's that, and that's where they are right there for the time being. Now the walls is where most of the things that you want to make sure is insulated, but I'm not knocking down my walls to throw in some insulation. That's really expensive. And then the ceiling as well. You want to make sure that, you know, there's some sort of insulation there, but again, that's costs a lot of money and I don't really want to invest that at the moment. So my gym looks really messy right now. That's what it is. I'll probably do an update as to what I have. But anyways, let's go back over here and answer the last two most common questions. All right, so covered all of that. Let's see. So the next question was, and the most common one was, how long does a 20-pound propane tank last me? That question is the biggest variable. Why do I say that? How cold is it by you? How long do you plan on using it? How long do you plan on using it on full blast? How well insulated is the area? What's the size, dimensions? There's just so many different variables. How comfortable are you in what temperature zone? For example, I walk in here, I think it was 40 or something like that once so far this year. And I got it up to like, I believe it was like 60 something. I'll put up the screenshots if I still have them. And once I'm in 55, I'm good, I'm chilling. But there's some people who want a, you know, more warm spot. So it is what it is. So given my specific variables, one of those tanks, I can't even point. One of those tanks lasts me about 12 hours. Now, people are gonna be like, wow, you're changing a propane tank every 12 hours. That's a lot. So yes and no. So when it comes to the actual, say so a lot. When it comes to the propane use, I'm using it for like an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and that's it. I'll pump it up to 5, which is the highest setting, for about half an hour to get the actual room a little up to temperature a little quicker. And then as I start to work out, it gets there even quicker because of the body heat and et cetera, et cetera. So you want to make sure you follow what you like best, right? So then I put it down to 2, and then I'll kick on and off as the temperature fluctuates to keep it at a certain level. And it is what it is. At that point, once you have one of those propane tanks, when you buy one, they're gonna be like $50 when you first buy one. I don't know if they changed recently, but it should be like $50, 45, $50. And then once you have that actual tank and you use it, you replace it at the store. In my case, I go to Home Depot or Walmart, and they just replace it. And at that point, you're paying anywhere between like 15 and $20. So 12 hours, $15, $20, you do the math, a little over $1 a workout. For me, that is so much better than paying, I would say about like $5 grand to have something installed and doing like the whole connected to my actual piping for the oil and stuff. I just don't find it necessary at the moment. So that's what I do. It's cold in here, so you can see that it's 48 degrees inside of here right now. But anyways, the heater's not on, obviously. So there's that. Now, the last question is, do I recommend this heater? I'm gonna say it once. I'm gonna just say it once. I absolutely recommend this. It saves me a ton of money. It keeps me nice and toasty. And at the end of the day, it was the best decision that I could have done, except I didn't know about this decision. So I went through like those plug-in electrical heaters that tell you one's for a small room, one's for a medium room, one's for a large room. And then if you do the math and you look behind the engineering and you do the actual looking into it, you find out that all 3 are the same and they put out the same energy. It's just the marketing behind it. makes no difference. So it just ramps up your electrical bill. Now, there are the other options that were more expensive that I just didn't want to deal with at the moment. You can do radiant heaters like the ones that I said before early in the video, where it's just oil already filled in, you connect it to the wall, and then over time it'll heat up and go. It's usually what is essentially the same thing as like the baseboard kind of that you have around your house. Some people have them, some people don't, depending on what and how old your house is. I still do. When it comes to those things, they're great, they're efficient, but it takes time for the heat to get up. So if you want to have it done and they don't move air around better, it's going to be a little bit time consuming. So I'd rather just have the heat right when I want it and not there when I don't need it, right? So anywho, I think that answers about everything. Hopefully I kept this video concise. This is probably like maybe like 6th or 7th time I filmed the video from start to finish since I posted the last video. Anywho, let me know what you guys think I should do. I have a couple ideas for my actual home gym. I want to rearrange it. I want to add another few pieces of equipment. I've already changed a little bit so I can give you guys an update as to what my home gym looks like now. Some workouts. I actually got injured recently. I could talk about that as well. I don't know. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you want to see. And I'd love to kind of put out some content. Either way, thank you for those who've subscribed. Thank you for those who've liked, commented, just interacted with the channel. I appreciate you more than you probably otherwise would think. Either way, peace, love, positivity. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.